We got one for the record books. It was 100 degrees in Tampa on Sunday afternoon.
Is that hot?
It's so hot. How hot was it? It was so hot the fire ants were literally on fire. Yeah, no, it was. Look, we were baking out. It's Baker was baking, but he truly was baking. And I was walking on the sun, which we always do at training camp. The good news is, hey, they're in pads today. That'll feel good.
No, you missed it. The good news is you're not in pads today.
That's true. That's true. I'm barely, toes up above the ground. There was a time when I kept convincing myself it was just me and I was losing my tolerance for this weather, which I grew up, in St. Petersburg, been here my whole life. And then I was like, no, I actually think it's getting warmer. Okay, now it's freaking getting warmer. Okay, like this is hot, man. We're under some kind of dome of heat right now in the entire United States. I guess I don't think there's many places that are immune to it, but I feel for those guys, man. They're going to be out there. They're going to be very warm. The pads come on. Some are happy about that. The offensive linemen seem to be. At least they can compete a little bit more. But when you put those on, you have these 300-pound guys that are losing 20 pounds of water weight a day, and that's not an exaggeration. And when they put these on, that's when you start to get a lot more hitting involved, a lot more, frankly, injuries. And because of the dehydration and the loss of fluids, this is the time that some guys start getting not just cramps, but sometimes soft tissue injuries. We've seen Elijah Cansey go down 2 years in a row now, because of that. And so anyway, new level of heat, new level of aggressiveness out there, but the Bucs continued on. It was the NFL Network's what was it? What was it? What do they call the weekend? Something like
welcome home or welcome back.
Welcome back weekend.
Something.
Yeah. Welcome back to the NFL weekend. A nice packaged opportunity for them to get people to watch the NFL Network for the first time in 6 months. And so Sarah Walsh was out at One Buck Place along with one of my favorite players, G-Mac, Gerald McCoy, was there, and they had an opportunity to sit down with Baker Mayfield. I listened to that interview a little bit live, and not much ground broken there. The other day, Jason Light said something to The Athletic, and it made a lot of headlines everywhere. I didn't bite on it because I kind of already had this discussion with him, but like he said something to the effect of, we love Baker, we want him here for a long time. It's just a matter of time, but we'd love to extend his contract, right? But it's about timing, and none of that to me is a surprise. Maybe it is for other people, but the fact of the matter is that I don't think it's going to happen anytime really soon. Baker has played 1 year under his new deal, which is 3 years, $100 million. And so this year you could say, well, he's like the 18th highest paid quarterback, but many people have him rated in the top 10. So surely he's a bargain even today at, $33 million a year. He also has the most touchdown passes in the last 2 seasons. So he's earned his money and probably a little bit more. He's probably underpaid. But if you start giving guys new contracts 1 year after you gave them a new contract, where does that end? You can't extend everybody just because they had a good year under their new deal and you realize that they're, underpaid. I mean, that's the job of the agent when he went into the contract the first time. After he played for $4 million, he, could have pushed harder to get 50, but he will get $50+ million. And the other key is that he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. You'd like to see how he does in year 2 of this deal. But could something happen, say, before the end of the year? Maybe, not likely. I think it's more likely in the offseason, before he plays into the final year of his deal, assuming he plays like Baker has the last 2 years and that he doesn't get hurt. So I don't look. Like I said, headline this time of year is easy to make.
But the other part of this is from a player's perspective, and some of it's betting on yourself. But the longer you wait, the more the value goes up and the price goes up because the salary cap keeps going up big time each year. And so the highest paid quarterback, $60 million now. Next
That's
year,
right.
maybe 70 million or
It could
65
well be.
or 70,
Yeah.
70, whatever. I mean,
You want to be the last guy, and I don't think he's going to be, in the Josh Allen stratosphere. Like, he's not going to be a top 3 paid quarterback.
no.
But if you can get into top 8, top 7.
But the whole point is if 60 is the top now, and if next year 70 is the top, and I mean, I don't know what the number is going to go to.
Yeah, he could go from 30 to
70,
55 or $60 million. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing is the longer you wait, particularly at that position, if nothing else.
Right.
Like, you're at that position, you're betting on yourself some with injury and everything else. But
that's the key. Yeah.
But the longer you wait, the more money there is to be had for you. And
right.
it doesn't impact the team as drastically because the salary cap goes up.
Right. And if he has, if he's able to stay healthy and he has, a third straight year of, like 40 touchdowns or wins another division title, that sort of thing, it's only going to add to his value. But look, at least he's making real money now. $100 million is nothing to sneeze at for sure. But, is he worth, is he a relative bargain? Yeah, he is. He is. He's, to be where he's at in terms of payroll, I think his value is higher than that, but it's still a good deal given the fact that he came here and played the first year for $4 million, and this will be his 8th offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard, in 8 years of his career. It's just unbelievable, but at least he has the same playbook, same scheme, that sort of thing. So it's not starting over, but, yeah, they look, it was interesting. They were pretty lively coming back off a day off. Guys were, had it pretty serious. There's a level of execution that's been good out here, really on both sides of the ball, but also, man, to a man, everybody that comes and talks to us after practice is like, they're all dialed in. Like, there's no, masking what their intentions are. And every team talks about playing in the Super Bowl and yada yada. But like, these guys know that they are going to get a lot of attention. They know that winning the division is no longer enough, and none of them are afraid to say, like we expect it, like this, we're dialing in, we're whatever that thing is, right? That for Baker, it's cutting down on interceptions and turnovers, but like everybody else that comes in there, we're dialed in, we're really, and Bowles has praised them for their work, that they've, executed at a high level, been into it. It's easy this time of year, especially when as hot as it was, to not have a good practice. They haven't had a bad one yet. They've taken turns of, offense, defense dominates one day. But yeah, it's a pretty good start to the camp. But things change when you put the pads on, and that's when you might get some bumps in the road.
Well, a couple things. And one, J.J. Watt had a post on social media complaining about those that are keeping stats in preseason.
Right.
And, when you go out there and you see a player gets picked or this, like as JJ said, you don't know what was called. You don't know what they're working on. You don't know that they're just saying this is 3rd and long and the defense knows exactly what you're doing and what, what's going on. You don't know if it's the quarterback trying to see, hey, what window can I get this through?
Yeah.
And you've mentioned Brad Johnson years ago saying, preseason, I don't care about how many picks I throw in the preseason. I'm trying to see what exactly can I get away with.
What can I get away with?
Where exactly is that limit of I can't throw it in this window or this far ahead or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Like that's what you're trying to figure out because nothing matters on that field. And watching from the stands or whatever, you got picked off 3 times. The coaches know what was going on.
Yeah, and conversely, when they make a big play and everybody goes nuts, that would have been a sack. Like you're not allowed to hit the quarterback, so people aren't watching Yaya Diaby, run by Charlie Heck and tap him on the backside. You know what I mean? Looks like he's blocked when he's not. So it works both ways, and there's give and take to all of that.
Yep. But the other part of the expectations. And look, Todd Bowles opened last season telling the team we're going for the Super Bowl.
He did.
Now, they didn't get there. They won a division title for the 4th straight season.
Yeah,
playoffs
won
for the
10
5th straight
games,
year.
won more games than they had. Yeah,
and they didn't have a very good playoff game.
Nope.
Washington beat them, but they're embracing the expectations once again, and almost, and they should. I mean, what big losses do they have off this team from last year that won 10 games, that won a 4th straight division title? Not much. Now,
they've added to it actually,
right.
and
Exactly.
I think the fact that Washington went to the championship game right? And then they played the Eagles, who then won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I never, the Bucs a year prior to that played the Eagles in the playoffs and flattened them, just annihilated them. So, I don't think they think the NFC, to me, first of all, we all admit it's hard to repeat, right? Hadn't had a repeat champion in a very, very long time.
Yep.
Okay. So it's hard to do. And so you say, well, Philadelphia's the best team in the NFC. They finished that way. They should be that way again. Okay, I'll buy it. But we all know it's hard to repeat. After that, Detroit lost both coordinators. I love Dan Campbell and I love Detroit's personnel. They're really, really good. San Francisco, I think, is on the downturn. They've lost a lot of players, and John Lynch has talked about we're going to have to take a step back and replenish, this whole group, because we've had some older guys. And Brock Purdy can't do it by himself. He's a good quarterback, but he's the guy that ultimately relies on great players around him. The Rams, a lot of people love the Rams, but Matthew Stafford is not practicing because he has a back injury. This guy was drafted in like 2009. he's not a spring chicken, to say the very least. So every team has flaws in the NFC, and the Bucs are kind of right in there. They're right in there in a division that's going to be between, I think, them and Atlanta. Atlanta still has a very, very young quarterback that hasn't started a full season. They beat the Bucs twice last year, and the Bucs still won the division. So they're in a good position in terms of like trying to make the playoffs, but that's not, they realize, they can't have those swoons. They want to be elite and they want teams to chase them. Like they're saying all that stuff. And a lot of it has to go right for it to happen. But they have every right to think, they look at their personnel and they see the depth they have at receiver and they see what they've done, in the secondary and assuming Winfield Jr. is back. Like there's a lot of good pieces with Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby and Elijah Kansas. So I get it. Like I think if they can weather the loss of Tristan Wirfs, they should be thinking that. And I also think that being in the third year that, Baker knows now that this system, whatever it is, and there's some carryover from last year, but he knows that he can function well and really well with these players around him. He trusts all these guys. He even called it this when I was listening to the interview, an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver, two or three running backs, a pretty damn good tight end, maybe two pretty good tight ends. Because Devin Culp is emerging now. And then, like I said, those great receivers. So an offensive line that's as good as they've ever had. They're going to have to weather the Tristan Wirfs thing, but, you can do some stuff there. And so, I don't think he's ever felt better going into a season, with the continuity, with the confidence, with the amount of players around him, adding a guy like Emeka Ibuka, who he continues to make plays for. So, there's a reason. Like these teams, they know, okay, but none of it matters. Like you got to go out, you got to prove it, and all that stuff. It's a long season, things happen. But from a personnel standpoint, they're pretty solid. Are they as good on defense as they say they are, or they need to be yet? I don't think so. I don't think they're there. They have to prove it, but they have potential, which is worse than not having it. And so I think they feel really confident. But it's been an interesting few days out there. It's like I also heard this that the fans have responded well to this team. There's expectations, and at least from a corporate standpoint, I think they're just virtually sold out of all their suites, with maybe one or two exceptions, which is really saying something. They've got new sponsors, a lot of them. I think when they start putting single game tickets on sale and all that, you're gonna see mostly sellout crowds this year. Which kind of adds to the atmosphere, adds to the excitement. There'll still be plenty of people come down from Philly and plenty of people, from various teams. But I think people rightly expect this to be a good year for them, and it should be. It should be it should be a hyped up, sense of anticipation, which is all you want, right? Like if you're an NFL team or a Major League Baseball team, which we'll get to the Rays in a minute, you just want to be relevant, right? You just want to be one of those teams that could go all the way.
No question. And that's We always talk about in the NFL, there's, you can 5, 6, 8 teams maybe that you could say have a legit shot to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
Every once in a while, there's one that surprises you.
Mm-hmm.
That pops out of nowhere. But for the most part, going into the year, you pretty much know. I mean, doesn't mean, every team is going to make the playoffs. There'll be teams that jump up and do that.
I think Washington was that team that surprised people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew Jaden Daniels was good. They didn't know he could get them there to the championship in his first year.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and new coaching and you just didn't know what to expect there.
No.
But there's always those teams that pop up. But legit shots to win Super Bowls, you can a handful of maybe a
5,
couple
6,
more.
7. Yeah, that you're going to get 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl if you just narrow it down.
And the Bucs last year were in that group,
maybe
at the edge of it, but in that group. And I think they're a better team this year going in. Now, we know that Chris Godwin's probably going to miss a few games and Tristan Wirfs will miss a few.
Sure.
But you expect both of them back and to both to be big parts of this team going forward. So there's no reason to think this team can't be better than they are last year. The schedule's a little tougher, and you got to deal with the expectations. And that's part of it too, learning how to win when you're expected to win.
Yeah.
And they've done better with it, although they still struggle in primetime games as a whole. And
they struggle in primetime games, and they struggle against teams with good records.
Well, those are the ones you're supposed to.
I know, but like you can't be underwater against those teams. In other words, you can't be like, 2-5 against teams that are over 500. Like you're going to have to start beating the good teams. You lose to Kansas City in overtime. You lose the coin toss, never get the ball. Okay, stuff like that. San Francisco here, even though Baker made that crazy play against Bosa, and it was a great game, but you lose. You're going to start beating teams that are the teams that go to the postseason. And they have a first place schedule, so you have 3 teams that the rest of your division is not going to play. You're going to have 3 tough teams, and that can be the difference in winning the division or not. But you've earned your way to a first place schedule, so enjoy it. But that's the competitive balance the NFL throws at teams. So I don't know. It's so long. Like I've been out there. What have they had? 4 or 5 practices so far. I think this will be the 5th or so. And you realize that they don't play a game next week.
Nope.
It's like you still got a long way to go here before we're seeing the Tennessee Titans come into practice one day, and then the next week they'll go to Pittsburgh and they'll go up there early and practice against them.
So your boy, we're just under 6 weeks away. So I mean,
yeah, in 3 preseason games and then a week in between the last preseason game. Saw Aaron Rodgers on NFL Network with Kyle Brandt. I love Kyle. He's a good interviewer. It was a good interview by him. And Rodgers was just talking about like, hey, it's different, man, now that I'm married. And he talked about his discussions with Mike Tomlin, and Tomlin never asked him, hey, I got to have you. Are you going to come? Or you're going to be, I need you as my quarterback. It was just, just talk and like giving him the space and the time he needed. And I'm anxious to go up there and watch him. I saw him, a couple of years ago when he went to the Jets his first year, and of course that lasted 4 plays. The Bucs actually went up to New York, and it was early on in training camp, and we got to talk to Rodgers one day, and he kind of said all the right things. Obviously, it didn't work out, to say the very least, because 4 plays into that season he tore his Achilles. But there was so much hype there, and I'm just wondering if it'll feel the same way in Pittsburgh. I don't think it will, because I think the Steelers are bigger than Rodgers, whereas the Jets, they haven't won anything since Namath, so he was the big story. But might have a chance to talk to him up there and just see what's going on. But yeah, it's weird to see him in orange and gold. I can tell you, or black and gold. I can tell you that. That looks a little surreal. But I think Tomlin is big enough personality to handle that. And they had Mike on NFL Network as well, talking about his Tomlinisms and all that sort of thing. But man, football is here. Like we're watching these camps as the back together weekend continues, which is such a made for TV thing, right? That's unbelievable. So let's talk about the Rays here in just a second. But first, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. You want to know what time it is? Well, go find yourself the best Swiss watch that they make in the world. The Breitling company has been in business for over 140 years. They've been in International Plaza for 5+ years. Now you're going to go in there, center of the mall, second floor. It's a gorgeous store. Spend some time in there, have a drink, learn about all their products. For the men, the watches, the chronomats, the Navitimers, women's, ladies' watches. Beautiful. These are durable sports watches that she is going to love, your wife, your girlfriend, an array of different colored wristbands to choose from. And while supplies last, Breitling Boutique is celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches. These watches are designed to highlight the team. They are chronomat watches for men. They have the team colors as the face of the watch, the logos inside. They're absolutely gorgeous. Go to tampabay.com. You can take a look at the Buccaneers team watch. This is all, by the way, while supplies last. So get down to Breitling Boutique. Don't wait. International Plaza Mall. And when you go there, tell them that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Well, the Rays got swept by the Cincinnati Reds. They lose 2-1, and they are now 500. Steve, this thing's going in the wrong direction. The trade deadline is Thursday. I think, as they head to New York to play the Yankees, who aren't playing great baseball themselves and will be without Aaron Judge for a while, I think it's time to sell. I don't know what that means because, Bilal's been out, and I guess if he came back, he'd be a candidate to be sold.
He's expected to be back Wednesday. So
Okay.
that's when he's eligible to come off the IL. They're expecting to activate him that day.
Yeah. It's just not happening for him. And the worst thing is, and this whole, the whole Tropicana thing is a big damn story, right? And I said, I've been all over the map on this. Originally, I said I think it's gonna invigorate those guys. I think they want to play outdoors. I think they want to play in Tampa. I think Tampa will support them. It's going to be a lot of the things they've asked for. It's going to be new, intimate ballpark, Tampa, outdoor baseball. Yeah. In many ways, it was really harder than I thought making that move. And especially like early on, they were like, I don't know, 9 or what was it? They lost 9 out of 11 at one point at home. But this damn schedule flipping on them the way it has because Major League Baseball wanted to avoid the rainouts, wanted to avoid the heat late in the year. I'm not sure they did the right thing by that, by the way. In fact, I'm sure they didn't because, the Rays are looking at a situation where they're on a road trip where they're going to play 19 out of 22 on the road, and they're in the midst of that right now, and they come home and play 3 against the LA Dodgers, for God's sakes. So there's nothing fair about that, and, right now they're kind of in a funk. They're not scoring runs. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for them, and I don't know what parts they'd be willing to deal with, even though I think you got to be open to the possibility of, somebody coming in here and offering you real value, whether it's for prospects or current players, and be willing to part with some of your guys. Because I just don't think there's any way that by Thursday they're going to be able to say, oh, yeah, no, we got the momentum now. We're going to go. We're going to make the playoffs.
So here's the question, and this is it's always the big question, but for Eric Neander and them, is that which pieces are you willing to part with? Yandy Diaz? Okay, he's got, I think, a $12 million option next year? Very, very underpaid for what he's worth.
Yeah.
So if you get rid of him, who's your replacement? If you get rid of Brendan Lau, who's your replacement? And his is somewhere around that same money figure for next year as well.
Yeah. Well, I got to see what they're offering. I mean,
that's always the thing is whatever value they perceive Brendan Lau is, whatever the contract is, plus what they perceive his value is, what are they getting back in return?
Yeah.
And that's what they weigh and decide. And if they're getting more back in return and they don't think they can win this year or think it's a long shot, then they'll pull the trigger.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's a cold and calculating business, but you assign everyone a value. And if you're getting more value back, you pull the trigger. That's pretty much the way it works. I mean, you take the emotion out of it if you can, and it's purely on value. But you also think this team has a good shot next year. You thought they had a good shot this year. I think a lot of things impacted this year.
Mm-hmm.
You have new owners coming. Maybe you're going to have an increased payroll next year. That's the hope, of course. Time will tell. So do you really want to part with those pieces? Because what are you putting in return next year? I don't think the Rays are looking. They stocked their farm system last year at the trade deadline. So I don't think they want a whole bunch of single A and double A guys. Like, you want guys close to major league ready at this point.
Yeah.
And so who's going to be better than Yandy or Brendan Lau? I'm not saying they can't find someone. I'm saying, how much do you want to? This isn't a rebuild. This isn't like the Diamondbacks, who apparently want to sell everybody and let's start over.
No, but you got to have value out, value and back in.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it may not be major league players initially. It may be
but it's going to be guys closer to ready.
They'll be closer than not, but it could be one that is ready and one that's not quite ready, that sort of thing. So I think stocking your minor leagues is always a smart thing to do, especially if you're the Rays and you can have control of these guys. That's part of it. But if Bilal was back, you have Hassan Kim. You don't know what's going to go on with him, and he has his own option after this year. I even saw a story or mention, it might have been in Mark Tompkins' story, that even a guy like Taylor Walls, could be on the block.
Oh, I don't think there's anybody on this team that's untouchable.
I think Caminero is.
And Caminero is about as close as you get.
Yeah. I think you'd have to get a
Simpson
hell of a
might
lot
be too,
for
and
him.
we could talk about Simpson too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
By the way, he's been thrown out 7 times now.
Yeah,
like he's only running at an 80%, 82% clip. 4 out of every 5 times he's safe. Like,
yeah,
that's for his speed. That's not good. That's not a good base runner.
Well,
he's
fast, not a good
and he outruns it most of the time. He gets bad jumps and doesn't take big leads.
Yeah,
like he relies on his speed, and it worked in the minors.
Right.
He's going to have to become a better base runner at this level. And he's young, and hopefully he will, but his jumps are not good and his leads are not good. And that's why at this level he gets thrown out. In the minors, he didn't.
Yeah. Well, they're much better, right?
Yeah.
They're much better. And some of that might be also pitch selection.
Well, they're also very predictable on when they're going to run.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And so the
I'm
other
not
team
throwing a lot of breaking balls when I got him at first base.
Right. I mean, it's something they're going to have to work on this season and in the off season. And that, I mean, he's going to have to become a better baser. He can't just rely on speed alone.
Yeah.
And I think he will. I mean, if you hear about the kid and the work he puts in and how he's working on defense as well and all that stuff, I think he can become a better base runner. And I think hopefully he will, but he's not there yet. He's got elite speed. He's not an elite base runner yet.
Well, he's got he had to become a better outfielder, and I think that's why they sent him down. And he probably is a little better when he came back. I mean, he's still a young player that's kind of learning the game.
Absolutely,
but I don't disagree with you. With his speed, you shouldn't see him get caught as much as he has. Don't think that. I think he adds more than he subtracts, obviously. So it's
no question,
definitely a piece you like that's up here, but. I don't know, man. Like they had, what they have 2 hits until the 8th inning when Taylor Walls hits a bomb, or the 9th inning Taylor Walls hits a bomb to make it 2-1. I mean, it's just like you're not scoring runs, you're not threatening to score runs. And Shane Boss was really, really good, except he gave up 2 in the first. Well, you know what?
2 in the first on a bunch of soft hit balls in the infield.
Yeah,
I mean,
once they got guys on, the ball never left the infield. Walls kind of kicked one. Got away from him, and things happen, and then 2 runs are in. You lose 2-1, and that's after the home run by Walls in the 9th. So you're not scoring runs. You're not getting a lot of hits. They're all just kind of in this collective funk. And the question was asked after the game, how much of this is because guys are on eggshells, guys are worried about the deadline, guys know the deadline's coming Thursday, and to a man, they all said, yeah, that's probably part of it. How would it not be, right? Like, how would you not be worried about, hey, I'm going to have to pick up, possibly my family, but like, I'm going to be out of here, and I really, really like this team. And I might be tapped on the shoulder from Littell or some of those other guys and said, yeah, you're gone.
Look, I mean, the trade deadline affects everybody and not just the bad teams. you're on the Reds, who right now are red hot, and
They're
now
really,
what, you're right at the verge of being on the playoff spot.
That's right.
Like, if you know, outside of Ellie De La Cruz and a couple of the players, like, they may trade for someone and replace me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not just the bad teams
It's
or
not
the
just the
teams
bad
that
teams,
that
right?
may sell that have issues. I mean, the good
That's
teams.
right.
If I'm the 7th or 8th guy in this lineup, they may be looking to upgrade me.
100%. Yep.
You know, it happens everywhere in baseball. It's a part of the game that doesn't get talked about enough.
Right.
But you know, the mental side of it and how players and teams deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, look, it is tougher on a team that is expected to sell, because there's probably a higher likelihood of you being replaced or whatever, or being moved.
Yeah.
But it affects even the good teams as well.
Sure.
You know, the Yankees just trade for McMahon, and you know, Suarez goes, and you know, they're replacing somebody in the lineup where they go. And so, you know, those guys have to deal with it too. And it's there's always a big exhale come August 1st in baseball. You know, it's kind of like, okay, remember, it used to be
through the deadline.
There used to be the secondary trade market until August 31st.
Right.
You know, but you had to clear waivers to get traded from that. Now you have to, it's a hard close at July 31st, which makes it easier on teams. But it's tough. I mean, and this team has talked openly about how much they like each other and how tight they are. And you know, during that win streak, you sure felt like it. You know, it's amazing how fast it went from hot to cold. And the only team playing worse than them right now, amazingly, is the Detroit Tigers.
Although they did beat the Blue Jays 10-4.
Okay, well, they had lost 12 of 13, 2 6-game losing streaks with one win in between.
Right. So that helps.
They had the best record of baseball when they went into that funk.
Yeah, that helps everybody, because Philly lost. I mean, the Yankees beat Philly 4-3. So some teams might have gained a little bit, but yeah, it's been a difficult year. That's the only thing you can say about it. It's just been difficult from start to finish. I give them credit; they've tried to hang in there. You know, the bats have been good. The bats have been bad. For the most part, the bullpen has been bad. They've let them down tremendously throughout the year, and you just can't, you know. And yet, if they would have a good month, they could get right back in it. You know, they could maybe force themselves, but you don't have a month to make that decision. You got till Thursday. But they're not going to give away players just to say we traded people. It's going to have to be some damn good deals, obviously, or they won't do it. But they've made good deals in the past. You know,
I mean, there's really the only player that you might go, they have to move now if they want to get value back, is Littell.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, everybody else has options for next year, and this, you could, if you don't get the value you think now, you can wait till the offseason.
You can wait till the offseason, yeah.
You know, the Rays are not in a position where it's like, we got guys that are going to be rentals.
That's right.
That we may not re-sign next year. They may not come back. You know, Pete Fairbanks is one that's been talked about, but he's got an option for next year.
Yep.
You know, there's been talk of Taj Bradley, or you know, he's under team control for a few more years. Like, you know, Littell, I could definitely see being traded. Everybody else, it's going to be, you got to give us whatever value we feel they're worth, or this much value to get this player from us. Like, they don't have to make moves, which is a good position to be in if you're Eric Neander.
You can deal from strength. Yeah, they definitely can deal from strength. But something's going to happen, and I do believe it affects people and players, and you know, they read stuff, and they have families they would have to move. It's just, you know, it's hard to leave your teammates. Some of them haven't been here that long, you know, so it's difficult. Before we go, just want to call your attention to a story I wrote in the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com. Kind of a neat thing about this relationship between Tom Moore, who's 86, and Bucky Irving, who they have kind of a breakfast club, if you will, together. Tom gets in there about 3:15, 3:30 every morning at One Buck Place, if you can believe that. Bucky is always there by 5:30, and it's kind of been happenstance. This started last year. It would be Tom, then Todd Bowles, then Bucky be the first one to show up, and really just checking on him more than anything. They kind of would bump into each other, and then Bucky started going to his office every morning, and they talk about football and life, and it's just a really cool relationship between a guy that's already in the Pro Football Hall of Fame with the award of excellence, and one that would like to get there if he can, accomplish what many of the players that Moore coached, with guys like, Barry Sanders and Edgerrin James and, Franco Harris and all those guys. But it's kind of a cool relationship. Check it out, TampaBay.com and in the Tampa Bay Times. All right, speaking of the Rays, they'll head to the Bronx tonight to play the New York Yankees, who do not have Aaron Judge. He's on the IL or DL, whatever they call it these days, for 10 days. So that might actually help them in this scenario, but they got to get going. They got to win a game and see if they can stay relevant here before the trade deadline on Thursday. Bucks are in pads for the first time this offseason. Should be fine. The pads are popping and all that stuff that Keith Jackson would say. The big uglies will be going at it. They're all excited, and hopefully nobody gets hurt, as usually the case when you put these things on for the first time. Stay cool, people. Hydrate. Get a hat. Stay out of the sun. It's going to be really awfully hot. I should take my own advice. It's going to be brutal. We were 100 degrees today. It's going to be at least that probably tomorrow, the next few days. So make sure if you go out to One Buck Place, you bring some light clothing, at least a hat, something to keep, sunscreen on the kids, all of that stuff, because I got to warn you, man, it's tough. And as a result, the crowds haven't been quite as big because I think people are smart enough to say, I got to go, at least when they're open. And then, we've got some special dates for suite holders and stuff like that coming up. So, but just be careful out there, whatever you do outside. Go see our friends Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out the beautiful men's watches, the chronomats, the Navitimers, ladies' watches. They have sports watches, all kinds of different colored wristbands for her, your wife, your girlfriend, and the NFL team watches. All 32 teams, 32 different team watches celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Thanks for listening. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.